The Jenn Royster Show is an inspirational hour with a focus on bringing hope to the world with the greatest healing energy known, divine love. Your host, Dr. Jenn Royster, is an internationally known intuitive spiritual counselor, energy healer, and visionary that will take you on a journey to explore the metaphysical world of healing within, the angelic realm, guided healing meditations, intuitive reads with callers, and interviews with guests that are making this world a better place. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Hello, and welcome to the Jenn Royster Show. I'm Dr. Jenn, and boy, we've got a very interesting and I believe a very powerful topic tonight. We are going to talk about Change Your Life Course Now. The author, award-winning author actually, of The Real Brass Ring, which is a novel, which I feel that a lot of the listeners are really going to connect with this story and what she's going to share. Her name is Dianne Bischoff James, and let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing tonight. Now, if you're new to the show, this is the Jenn Royster Show. We're here on Sunday nights, every fourth Sunday. I'm Dr. Jenn. You're listening to a live Dream Vision 7 radio broadcast here at 1510 WUFC Boston. This show is heard every fourth Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can also tune into my show on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network every Thursday at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern. If you want to learn more and for a full station broadcast schedule, go to dreamvision7radio.com. Now, welcome, and everyone listening. Wow, we've got the show for you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what we're talking about tonight. We have the author, Dianne Bischoff James, and she's going to be sharing her novel, The Real Brass Ring. And this takes the secret on a high-speed road test in a tale of midlife transformation in the real flesh and blood world of contemporary Chicago. And it is a story of midlife reboot. Now, who out there is going to be able to relate to this? Wow. Think about it. Midlife reboot, transformation at midlife. Oh, my goodness. We've heard this with all the different terms that have been out there on that. This is a raw, unfiltered journey of enlightenment that illustrates a woman's daunting personal reinvention and the rewards of fearlessly pursuing a life's true calling. And that's the part that drew me in to bring Dianne here to share with my listeners here on the Jenn Royster Show. This is a powerful topic tonight. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an award-winning author. She's a motivational speaker, and she's actually snuck off right in the middle of a conference, I believe, to be with us tonight for an hour. I think she's hiding away in a hotel room. And she's an entrepreneur who specializes in life-enhancing transformation. She's a dynamic midlife reinventionalist. And reinventing, think about that, who helps others recognize their own power and potential. She's an actor, performer. She's encouraged audiences to create a reality that's prosperous, deliberate, and meaningful. Dianne is amazing. Now at the age of 40, she went on a journey after all of this entrepreneurship, business degrees, being successful. She went into this heart realigning with a childhood passion for the dramatic arts. And that's when she kicked off her acting career at the age of 40. She didn't start young. That's amazing. And now she's doing so many things. And now in 8 years, she has got over 50 film, television, commercial, and industrial credits. So I could keep going on and on because the lady never stops. When she's calming down and being quiet, she's enjoying her life with her fiancé, her children, sports, hiking, boating, yoga, art, festivals. I mean, she lives her life to the fullest. So with that, I would like to welcome Dianne to the show. Dianne, welcome to the Jenn Royster Show.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Jen. I am so happy to be here.
Whoa. I mean, you are like snuck away. Yeah, I think you went to the hotel room, and we are, in the little hidey hole here, so you could be with us for an hour tonight. And you have a busy schedule. I mean, I saw your list of events, and we want to make sure we share that a little bit later in the show, so if anybody's in that area, they can come. Now, this is a dynamic novel, but it's very true and realistic.
Yes, actually, it's. I consider it to be pretty much a feet on the street approach to transformation. I call myself a good soldier. I was born of a family, very traditional roots. My father was German and ex-military, and my mom was Irish Catholic, and all the goodness and sweetness that comes along with that. But we were told when I was young that to be successful and happy, you had four choices. You could be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or an engineer. And those are the four things. You could pick one of those four things, and therefore you will be a happy person. And unfortunately, they didn't resonate with me necessarily. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to get into all that messy business. And as far as an accountant, I wasn't super great at numbers. And, as far as being a lawyer, I didn't want to argue, for a living. And I don't think I had quite all the skills to be an engineer, so I was the big rebel, and I went out and I got a master's degree from Northwestern in marketing. And I ended up working mostly with engineering companies, and that was my big rebellious move. So I figured I was kind of close to the scope. My brother ended up, one was a doctor, one is a lawyer. And so I was the one who kind of took the one step off. And I was very fortunate. I had a very successful marketing business. I won 4 international awards for marketing communication, and mostly with engineering-type companies. So I worked with some of the big guys with Rockwell International and Underwriters Labs and some of the national firms people have heard of. And on my 38th birthday, actually, I gave myself this huge gift. A couple of friends in a row had said, "Oh, you got to see this woman named Sonia Choquette." Mm-hmm. And you might have heard of her.
Oh, yes, I know her.
Yeah, she's internationally known, and she's awesome. But this was years ago. This was before she was quite as well known as she is now. And I made an appointment for my birthday, and I thought, okay, this is just a great gift. And I went to her office, which at the time was in her home, and sat down thinking, okay, this woman's going to tell me I'm the cat's meow, right? She's going to say, you've got it all together. I had a big house across from the lake, and I had a lot of the possessions, material possessions that, we were supposed to get. I had the big house and, the Prada bag and the little red convertible, and I had the kids and did all the things I was supposed to do. And when I sat down with her, she completely 1,000% just undressed me. She told me that my entire life was going down the wrong road. She's like, Dianne, you're like this unlit Christmas tree, and none of the bulbs are firing. And she said, I hate to tell you, but you're living somebody else's life, not your own. Ooh. And she called me out on everything. She said, you're clinically depressed. I was 190 pounds at the time, so clearly I had some signs that I wasn't completely happy. She's like, your marriage is fraternal. She said, you're basically married to your girlfriend. And she goes, nothing about your life is authentic and real. And she said, your number one mission is to find your heart. And she said, that is the hardest of all lessons. And she goes, and quite frankly, girlfriend, you're not doing it. So she said, if you don't get all this straightened out, she said, you've got to reach for that real brass ring. Mm-hmm. Hence book. So that's kind of where I got the idea for it. She goes, you have to reach for the real brass ring, or I said, or what? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to
gosh. That's a lot.
point, I'm grabbing onto the chair, and I'm starting to perspire, and I was having a complete, heart attack right there. And she said, if you don't, you're going to have to come back and do it all over again.
Ah.
And I thought, well, I'll tell you one thing. I am not going to be the person who's going to sit here and go down the wrong road. I figured, first of all, how are you almost 40 and going down the wrong road? I couldn't believe I'd made such a heinous error. But then she said, I get to tell you, you're a performer. And she said, you'll be very good in the theater. And she said, you'll make a really good name for yourself doing that. She said, you're a writer. She said, people are going to love your stories. She said, you have so many things to share, but you're also a healer and you're a teacher. And she said, and you're not doing any of it. So right then and there, I start to cry.
That's a lot of information thrown at you in the first session, and I've been in Sonia Choquette's seminars before, and I mean, she is not going to pull any punches. And so I know what you're talking about, and I'm thinking, but you know what? It was that slap in the face that just woke you up.
She has this beautiful demeanor, and she's so sweet and delicate, and when she speaks, it's just fierce. I mean, the information is so accurate and real, but it's delivered without any sugarcoating. And so I didn't know what to do at first. I thought, I hate her. I want to, reach over and punch her. I just wanted to, of course you go after the messenger, right? It wasn't about the messages. But she was the first person I didn't tell anyone at the time I was on Prozac. And so clearly she knew everything about me, and I had not shared any of that with her at all. So she was 1,000% accurate.
Can I ask a quick question? In that moment, did you feel defensive at all? And the reason I'm asking that is this is a metaphysical show. I'm intuitive, and I kind of tap into the listeners out there, and I'm feeling that a little bit out there. So I'm asking that question. Did you feel defensive when all of this was just coming at you?
Absolutely.
Whoa, because if we're raised in a programming or a culture where be this way, and it's not really us, we're pretending the whole time, so to speak. And then all of a sudden, all of that pretending was stripped away in a moment.
And I think I went to the place of, how dare you? How dare you? I mean, I didn't say it at the time, but how dare you take my mask off and leave me here standing out? She outed me. She completely outed me. And, I was thinking at first, it's not your place. Who are you? What are you talking about? And the other part that was really kind of a scary place for me to go is to overwhelm, because she didn't say, you just have to make this adjustment in your career and you're going to be the happiest person alive. She put this on a macro reboot. This wasn't like a mini reboot. This was a macro. How do you fix everything? That's everything. It sounded like the only thing I could keep at the time were my kids. Well, you can get rid of everything else, but you can keep the kids, and good luck with that. And the other part that was really scary is there's no map for this. I mean, there's no course. Somebody doesn't go, okay, we'll do this first and then take care of that. The only thing she left me with at the time of the session with a list of 10 books that I had to read. And she also told me that I had to go to the Hoffman Institute. And that was something that was going to help me because my insides, quite frankly, really needed a good scrubbing.
Wow.
I had so many layers of gook and patterns and negativity, and quite frankly, I had probably zero self-love at the time. And she said, you needed to go to this years ago, but I'm telling you to run, not walk, to this healing mecca. And she said, it's going to really, really help you. And then she kind of scoots out of the room. She closes the door, and I walked to my car at the time, and it was probably, 20 below zero in Chicago, which it usually is in February. And I just started sobbing. And I couldn't, move. For 30 minutes I sat in my frozen car, and I just cried my eyes out because
wow.
I didn't know how to make myself a success having been outed as such a huge failure. And so it was 1,000% overwhelming to me at the time.
I can imagine. Now, let me ask you this. Now, what I'm intrigued with is the pragmatic metaphysics of that you're referring to in the book, because this is a metaphysical show, so I do want to address that. Could you help the listeners understand what you mean by that, by the pragmatic?
Absolutely. I have a business background, so I am very used to, walking into meetings and sitting with mostly, CEOs or CTOs or CIOs or somewhere in the C-suite, and they always pretty much say the same thing to me. They say, okay, Dianne, just, give me the executive summary. And so I'm used to synthesizing and integrating information. And the one thing, Sonia, even though she gave me a list of 10 books to read, I didn't tell her I'd already read maybe 8,000 or 10,000 other metaphysical books, because I've been interested in this since I was a kid. I've always loved the study of philosophy. My background is in psychology, and I just can't get enough. So I didn't tell her, okay, I've already read 8,000, now I'll read 8,010. But what I wanted to do is take what she told me to do and make it easier for myself, so kind of create a bit of a pathway. Mm-hmm. So I decided to come up with kind of sort of my own science. I call it pragmatic metaphysics. And what it does is it kind of blends the East and the West. So I consider myself to be like half yuppie, half hippie. I know a lot about business, a lot about how things work, but I'm the first person to go and run out and try a new practice or a new technique. In fact, I am right now, I just walked out of the Universal Life Expo here in Columbus, Ohio, and there wasn't anything I saw that I didn't want to grab, try on, touch. I just got the little tuning forks, the masculine and feminine, so you kind of bang them, and then I put them on my third eye. Just because it makes me calm down for like a second, and I feel so amazing with all these different techniques. So I'm kind of sort of the metaphysical guinea pig that I put myself out there, and I try to combine all these techniques and synthesize information for the future so that I can help other people. Mm-hmm. So as part of the pragmatic metaphysics, I scoped out right now 14 rules, and I call them the shortcuts for happy living. And those are the rules by which I crafted my transformation.
Okay.
And I live by them. I share them with my kids. I share them with all my private clients and all of my workshops. And they seem to be very well received, and that people kind of get it. So we cut through all of the clutter and all of the messaging and get right down to the basics of kind of what you need to know. And that's in the book, and it's pretty much what I'm basing my future workshops on.
Gotcha. Oh, wow. Now, you have a lot of life-changing that you did in this book. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, these are big events. These are those big transitional times in life that, really scare people. I mean, and we're going through so many of them, as we go through our own personal journey, and then our whole collective right now, we're really going through some crazy stuff out there. But you're going through big personal life changes in this book. Now, the fear factor is powerful, but it's only if you let it be. Now, how did you handle it? Because that was big.
Fear was my shackles. I was afraid of everything, and I worked primarily from the operation of lack. Everything was, if I do something, I will have, lack of support. I will have lack of security, lack of acceptance, lack of acknowledgement, I was terrified, by the way, to actually go through this transformation because I was afraid, what if I'm successful? Then what will happen? Or what if I actually do write this book? She was telling me to write a book. Honestly, Jen, I didn't know what she was talking about at the time. Mm-hmm. I kept sitting down trying to write a book about marketing and marketing communication, and every time I sat down, these personal stories were just like flying out of the keys, and I didn't really know where it was going. I honestly felt like the whole thing was kind of channeled, and I just kept feeling like, okay, well, I'll put down the personal stories, and I'm going to get back to the marketing communications book that she told me to write. But it ended up that the book was all about how to overcome all these different obstacles, weight and depression, and changing a household when you have 3 beautiful children. I mean, how do you go through that? How do you address it in a healthy way so that you can move on and find love and find partnership and not devastate the people that you love the most? And, all these things are huge, huge, huge issues. Mm-hmm. And so I had to address my fear, and I use a lot of different practices to do that. One is a really simple one, and that's just to kind of ask yourself, kind of put yourself on, I don't always have someone else to do it for me, so I do it for myself. I pretend I'm 2 people. I'm the interrogator on the side, and the person who's the respondent on the other. And so I'd say to myself, I can't write the book because. Mm-hmm. Something that simple.
That's powerful when you said that. That's really clicking, because that's powerful. If you ask your questions just point blank in that objective state, mm-hmm. Yeah, it really shines a light on the different perspectives, and hopefully you can see, well, wait a minute, I could change that. So I like how I like that you just said that. That's a powerful statement, so I really wanted to emphasize that.
And it's also really helpful. I was just actually working with someone here at the Expo who also has a project they haven't started, and I started using some of these techniques that I've been using, and I'd say, well, you haven't started the project because, and of course, at first you get a really fluffy answer usually, mm-hmm. because it's lazy or something. And I took her arm and I said, I haven't started this project because, and then it starts to peel back the layer. And she said, well, because I'm afraid people aren't going to receive the message well. Okay, that's the right answer. That is the real answer. And then you excavate the fear. And if you don't have the right answer, then what will happen?
Absolutely. Now hold on to that thought, because we're going to take a short break. And if you're listening, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Jenn Royster Show. I'm Dr. Jenn. We'll be right back after the break with my guest tonight, Dianne Bischoff James.
Join Dr. Bernie Siegel on Mind Health Matters every first Sunday at 8 p.m., all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Bernie will draw from his inspirational personal journey, offering us special nuggets of his sacred wisdom. Listen in as Bernie reminds us to be fully engaged in life.
Join us every second Sunday at 7 p.m. for Living on Purpose with Carolyn Romano, where we explore the mysteries, meaning, and sometimes madness of life. Let's figure out together the ways we're meant to serve and become the fullest expressions of our most authentic selves. Let's figure out together how to create lives of balance, abundance, and joy. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Are you overwhelmed by other people's energy? Do you constantly suffer with emotional drain, exhaustion, or physical illness? You may be highly sensitive to energy and not aware of your powerful connection to spirit. Dr. Jenn Royster is an intuitive spiritual counselor and energy healer that works with the angelic realm and has helped thousands of empathic souls successfully release negative energies, reclaim their personal power, and thrive. Life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. Book your private phone session today at JennRoyster.com.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Saturdays 2 to 3 p.m. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Saturday 2 to 3 p.m., all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
J.T. Lewis is the big brother of Jesse Lewis, who died in Sandy Hook Elementary on December 14, 2012, while saving the lives of 9 of his classmates. J.T. found comfort after Rwandan orphan genocide survivors reached out to him from their country to express their condolences and share their personal stories of tragedy and healing. Inspired by the love that was shown to him, JT started Newtown Helps Africa, a nonprofit organization that helps young people in Africa and beyond who've suffered personal tragedy and have shown resilience. He successfully sent one young Rwandan woman to college for 4 years and plans to do much more, all the while inspiring many young people around the world to turn hardship into an opportunity to make the world a better place. Link on to newtownhelpsrwanda.org.
Life. We can either be bystanders or creators. Now is the time to awaken to your divine identity and the power of the I Am within, to create a joyous and fulfilled life, no matter what your circumstances are. There are answers to life's big questions, and there is a spiritual path that leads to soul liberation and ascension. Join us every third Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Prophets for the New Age with Carl and Nancy Showalter on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Money makes us react. It has a way of eliciting an immediate response. From our home life to our own business environment, money is usually front and center. For CPA Jane Honig and psychotherapist Spencer Melnick, the debate is not about what you do with your money. It's about how you feel, react, and interact when it comes to money. Join us at 6 p.m. on the fourth Sunday of every month to explore the money dynamic, part of the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
EDECIA is a U.S. nonprofit dedicated to the dream of ending childhood malnutrition for millions of children around the world. Through the manufacture of Plumpy Nut and other nutrient-rich, peanut-based, ready-to-use foods, EDECIA has already delivered life and hope to nearly 1 million children in over 26 developing countries. To find out how you can join EDECIA's dream of ending childhood malnutrition, please visit edeciaglobal.org.
And we are back. I'm Dr. Jenn. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Jenn Royster Show. And my guest this evening is Dianne Bischoff James. And we're talking about Change Your Life Course Now, an amazing novel that she has written called The Real Brass Ring. And she's been sharing her experiences. And obviously, Dianne, you have been through these changes that you were writing about in some of this book. Now, let's get into some of this. There's romance with Jeff in the book.
Yes, there was.
Yeah. And this is a manipulative alcoholic and a classic codependence. Okay. How many out there are relating to this one? I know. Now, is this something that you recognize that codependency was there way before that, and this is just repeating? Or, I mean, this is when you really are aware of something like that. That's a big one. Because codependency is hard to unmask.
It is, and I think the challenge with that particular relationship is that he just oozed of love. And I was so love-starved that everything about him was something out of some Harlequin romance. Everything he said, he was so raw and real when I first met him that he would not only, call himself out on situations, but he endlessly told me all the things I wanted to hear, almost to the point where it was over the top. It's beautiful when I didn't have any makeup on, and he said, I just can't wait to spend time with you. And if he sat near me, he would just, envelop me. And it was so addictive to me because I had been so starved for love that I didn't quite know. I didn't see it at first, and I probably had never had any experience like that. So he represented heaven to me in some ways. Mm. And, of course, there's always the shadow side, especially with someone who has massive addictions, and that's the darkness or the hellish type side is the one where it was all the dark part of life that I had never seen before. Issues when I finally uncovered them, issues with the law, and issues with money, and issues with massive illness that was being created on the inside of him because he was consuming use of alcohol that, of course, I had never even conceived of. So I saw both the beautiful part of life, and I saw the saddest, sickest part of life you could ever imagine.
Mm. When you start to really pull away and see your own life objectively, and that awareness starts to wake up, it's a big thing to. It can feel overwhelming. I know I've gone through my own personal ones, and one of the things that really struck me that I really want to ask you is about those danger signals that you talk about, because I know that I've had them, and I know what mine are, and I know that other people will relate to that, because that feeling that whatever that signal is that you get when you feel like that's not the way I should go, and how to identify that and how to pay attention to that and how to get back on and really trust that. I mean, that's a powerful part of your book.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because for me, my signal, I think before I went through this transformation, was pretty much dead. I had suppressed every emotional signal that was ever coming across to me, because I always used to think whatever was going on was probably my fault, or I don't understand, or maybe I'm just not listening enough, or maybe I'm just not caring enough. And what I started to do is kind of look at my emotions a lot differently, and I consider them to be radar detector now. Mm-hmm. And whenever that radar detector goes off, and for me it's like a crunchy feeling. I'll either get like a sick feeling, a twisted feeling, a crunchy feeling going on the inside, and I start to actually pay attention to it, because what I really learned over the last 10 years, whatever looks weird, sounds weird, smells weird, seems weird, it probably is weird. And so I started to actually trust that. And that took me a lot of years of practice from having suppressed it for so long.
Right.
And part of that was how I gained all the weight. I suppressed all my feelings. And when I started actually paying attention to it, whenever someone says something that seems slightly off, I actually make a note now, kind of like the little dog that goes, like, okay, that's a weird thing that person just said. Because typically what it means to me now is there's some piece of information I'm not hearing, or there's something behind it that is not coming totally clean. And the relationship with Jeff was all completely unclean. I mean, he never confessed that he had all these DUIs, and all of that came out after months and months of the relationship, and he was lying most of the time. And so it took me a long time to figure out that I was pretty much, codependent, and being a classic codependent, and I just learned a lot from the situation. But having learned all that, it probably was the greatest education of my entire life so far.
Mm-hmm. It was a huge learning 10 years, really, because, and, as you're learning to catch it, you don't seem, the way it felt to me, or the way it still, I guess we always are learning that, but the way it would feel is like I wasn't all the way embedded in that choice and having to backtrack so far. I would catch it sooner. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I know that
yep.
I know you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you'll go down and it's not as far. You backtrack and you might go down a little bit, but it's not as far to come back. And then eventually it's less and less and less. That's how you know for myself. I'm asking you, Dianne. That's how I know that I'm gaining expertise in listening to those signals.
It's like a little beacon light for me that goes off. It starts to beep, beep, beep. And I actually now, I think the universe actually tested me a few times afterward. The first one was incredibly traumatic, and he, ended up passing away in the whole thing. But I think the universe gave me a couple more tests. After that, I took a long break from dating, but I did meet another person, and I'd get some similar situations where they'd say something was kind of off, or, I'll be real happy I can talk to you, but after I have a beer, or something like that. Or they'd say a weird statement, and again, my head would kind of tip and go, did that person really just say that? And then I would start to take note and notice behavior. And it became, after my second test, it took me a little while to pass it. By the third time, it took me like 5 minutes. And now I pretty much see it running at me. I can see it a mile away. So I'm pretty much able to assess situations with a lot more discernment.
Yes, and that's exactly what we were talking about, because that's so powerful, and I'm glad we're talking about that in the show, because for people listening that may be experiencing or relating to this, you know what we're saying out there, listener. You know what she's talking about. You've experienced this, and it's really truly trusting. And because a lot of people go, well, how do I know and how do I trust? That's exactly what she's describing right here and right now. It's those signals that you learn to recognize within yourself. Like I know that my physical body will tell me. You talk about an upset stomach or whatever you want to call it, it will let me know I'm just not okay. And that's what she's talking about. You were calling it something else. What were you saying?
For me, I label it. I have the crunchies.
The crunchies. That's funny because I had the pinchy pains. That's hilarious. I was like, she sounds like she's talking about the pinchy pains.
Yeah, and I think everyone can have a different word for it, but I get the swirls and the crunchies, and that's how my body's trying to tell me this doesn't feel right. And can I give you a real quick example? I had a situation recently where someone said, okay, I'm going to let you do this, but I want you to provide these free services for me in order to get that. And at first I thought, okay, wait a minute, is this a brass ring moment where I should really be grabbing at the brass ring because I really wanted the outcome of this experience? And I thought, okay, I'll go for it and I'll do it. And I said, okay, well, I'll help you and I'll do a little bit of this work. Well, it ended up being about 8 hours worth of work. And my stomach, literally, I had the twisties and the crunchies going on the whole time, and I would rather have gone out and scrubbed the garbage can outside, it's been outside for 12 months, than do this thing. And I thought, okay, you don't need a bigger message than that this isn't a good fit for you. And so I decided in a very healthy way that I came clean. And I called the person back and I said, I'm going to do this for you till you no longer need me to, but I'm just telling you right now, I'm putting it on notice. It's just not working for me. It's not about you. It just doesn't work for me. And those words are the most beautiful words in the English language because no one can argue with it.
Right? And there's a truth to that. I mean, it might be that one thing is right for one person and not for another. But the thing is that you spoke and you were honest. And I think that is the powerful message and the empowerment in it. And we are going to take a quick break. So stay with us. You're listening to The Jenn Royster Show. We'll be right back.
Join us every fourth Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Jenn Royster Show with your host, Dr. Jenn, on a spiritual journey inward where hope and love bring healing to life's greatest challenges. Enjoy metaphysical topics, intuitive angel reads, guided healing meditations, and inspirational interviews. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Join us every second Sunday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Nurturing Exceptional Children with Dr. Nikki Show, where you'll discover holistic strategies to support children who have learning differences, energetic sensitivities, behavior concerns, and/or heightened intuitive abilities. Through our panel of distinguished guests, you'll receive parenting tips, education strategies, and holistic health solutions that will help these magnificent children shine their inner light to the fullest. This show is a proud member of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
The goal of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love Foundation is to cultivate a more peaceful world by creating awareness that we can choose love. By providing tools for our children and communities, we can enable them to develop a healthy level of optimism that leads to resilience. Our mission is to give people the understanding that they can choose love by living a life with gratitude, having the ability to forgive, and to be compassionate. This is a proactive effort towards mental health that'll provide children and adults with the perspective and wisdom they need to be able to navigate through life in a happy, fulfilled, and meaningful way. Our website is jessieLewisChooseLove.org.
Are you ready to be who your soul wants you to be? Join Lynn McGonigal, the founder of the Lightworkers Healing Method, as she and her amazing guests show you how to move into a life of lasting joy. Miracles happen every second Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Hasn't your soul already waited long enough?
Tune in every first Sunday at 6 p.m. for Maximum Success, the Coach Bruce Show. You'll learn success strategies to take your game to the next level from performance consultant John Brubaker. Maximum Success explores why winners win and teaches you the keys to peak performance. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Join the Mind Health Coach with Leah Marie every fourth Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Come explore with us natural and healthy ways to achieve inner peace, happiness, and an ever-present state of well-being. You're already healed. You just haven't realized it yet. When you're ready, you can change your mind and change your life forever. The power of a beautiful life is within you today. Mind Health Coach with Leah Marie is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Are you overwhelmed by other people's energy? Do you constantly suffer with emotional drain, exhaustion, or physical illness? You may be highly sensitive to energy and not aware of your powerful connection to spirit. Dr. Jenn Royster is an intuitive spiritual counselor and energy healer that works with the angelic realm and has helped thousands of empathic souls successfully release negative energies, reclaim their personal power, and thrive. Life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. Book your private phone session today at JennRoyster.com.
And we are back. I'm Dr. Jenn, and you're listening to the Jenn Royster Show. If you are just tuning in, we have been having a great conversation with my guest tonight, Dianne Bischoff James, about the real brass ring and her book that's out. And this has just been changing your life course now. Now, you use law of attraction, Dianne, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you go through some exercises in that. Now, before we wrap this interview up, I want to make sure people know how to find you. What is your website? Where can they find you or learn a little bit more about what you're doing and your book?
The website is called liveyoureverything.com, and the book is on there, and I created this website with a vision. It's still in development because it's still new this year, but I'd like to create a sanctuary for midlife transformation, and that's kind of my whole concept, and the love of my life is to help other people transform any way that I can. So I'm focusing on the midlife reboot workshops, and those workshops I've been able to schedule in quite a few cities. I think we're doing at least 12 between now and next June, and we're going to be going to currently just today we're at the Universal Life Expo. That's in Columbus. And next weekend, going to the Edge Expo, and that's going to be in Minneapolis. And then after that, we're going to be going in January back to Illinois with some things, and then to the Conscious Life Expo in California. So I'm trying to take this midlife reboot workshop around to different cities, and so far everyone seems to just really be able to enjoy it and are able to use some of these special tools to help them have just a kind of a jump start on what I call version 2. You know, if version 1 isn't exactly the way you want it, version 2 can have any ending to this story any way that you like.
Well, that's awesome. Now, the book is called The Real Brass Ring. Yeah. Right? The Real Brass Ring, Change Your Life Course Now. Dianne Bischoff James, the author, and her website was Live Your Everything, right? Is that where
yes.
Okay, liveyoureverything.com, and she has all the information. I would assume all the events that you're talking about you have those listed on your website?
Yes, everything's on the website, and the book is also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
There you go. See, yeah, and it's a beautiful cover. You'll love the cover. It's a beautiful, and in fact, if you want to see so you can recognize it, on my website, I have all of her links as well to the show page for this show at JennRoyster.com, JennRoyster.com. I have links to Dianne's website, pictures so you can see what the book looks like, so you know what you're looking for. You know, all of that. If you're having trouble or you can't remember, you can find it over there. This has been one of those amazing, quick, fast interviews. My goodness. Now, Dianne, we were talking about law of attraction, and that's the metaphysical side of it. You know, I mean, we're talking law of attraction. That's something that frustrates people at the same time. Wow, it's so powerful. It's amazing. I know that that's what's changed my life personally. That's why I do radio. That's why I do what I do as an intuitive counselor. Where did the law of attraction really start to work for you? Because I remember earlier in the conversation you were talking about, you know, you were a little bit more worried about what was going to go wrong.
Yes, absolutely. But I found right after I met with Sonia, I pretty much discovered Esther and Jerry Hicks, which I consider to be kind of the four founding fathers of the law of attraction, and that they were the first ones to actually make it real and make it easy to understand. And I added them into their practice, studied them, and wanted to become the most successful manifester possible. And a lot of what's in the book shows many examples and techniques that I've used to make myself become what I consider to be pretty much a master manifester, in that I'm able to quickly and fairly easily get most of the things that I set my sights on. And the number one basic rule of this is, you know, what you think about, you bring about. Mm-hmm. And anything that you pay attention to, look at, focus on, talk about, or even put in your back of your mind, in your psyche, is coming your way. So the important thing is to remember that the universe does not really recognize the words, I don't want something. It only looks at the subject that you're talking about. So if someone says, wow, I was with all these people, I don't want to get sick, it doesn't hear, I don't want to get sick. It hears, get sick.
It hears sick.
You need to be really careful to filter out and make sure you're thinking, I feel well, I feel great. So I went through all those practices trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and was able to synthesize it partly in the book and partly as these shortcuts. And it's turned out that, you know, if you know how to use it, it works fabulously well. So I'm very happy with being able to use law of attraction.
And I'm very familiar with them. I have several of the CDs and recordings of those, and we love them. You know, with Esther and Jerry Hicks. Yeah, absolutely. They're wonderful. The Abraham.
Right.
Yeah, they're absolutely incredible. And we have little sayings that we do around here when we get around somebody with the sick or whatever. We say, it's like, I'm not claiming that pathogen, is what we'll say. And people will go, what? And I'm like, I'm not claiming that pathogen. I am. I
love it.
I say I am, and what I want behind it is what I'm doing. And then I had one time, and you'll appreciate this, one time somebody was talking about all the things that they had wrong or what they had in their family history, and I said, well, don't claim all that DNA. And I said, what? But I'm just trying to make the point, like, you're focusing on all these things that you're worried about.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and that's how you shift it. And you go through all of this in your book. I mean, you're laying out some objectives and some ideas and some manifesting exercises in the book as well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the one thing, just I want to share, because the one thing about Esther and Jerry that has helped me the most is if I'm having one of those days where, you know, you're just crabby or things didn't quite work the way you wanted to, I remember the one thing that is the most helpful to me, and that is reach for the thought that feels better. And in any situation, no matter where I am, whether I'm getting those weird feelings or if I'm just, you know, someone rejected my proposal, or if the meeting was terrible and I made a mistake, I always say to myself, reach for the thought that feels better. And that is the one tip that I think has been the most helpful for me, because there's always something better. For example, wow, tomorrow I don't have to go back to that silly meeting, or, whatever it might be. Or, I'm just going to do a better job next time, or, wow, the meal I'm going to have when I get home is going to be fabulous. Whatever that thought is, it always relieves me and puts me in that higher spot. So that's where I try to stay, and that's one of the tips that I have in the book.
Well, I like that one a lot. Like, go for that better thought. I like that. Which one feels better? I love that. And, there's so many different aspects. Now, what I want to point out to everybody listening, and this is a but it's like a self-help workbook. It's incredible how she managed to do that to me, because, you're either buying a self-help workbook with exercises and how-tos and things you do, and it lays it out for you, or you're buying a novel. But she's put it together. She did that. Now, that was I just want to say that's pretty incredible. And I find that very interesting that you've done that, because it makes for an interesting read. You're not, you want to dive in. And, when you're reading a novel, you become connected to the characters. You're walking that life with them, so to speak, in it. So that's what Dianne has done here. She's really doing that for you in this book. Am I accurate in saying that?
Thank you. Yes, I really appreciate you saying that, because
I think I just reviewed it professionally.
Yeah, well, just being an integrator, just a natural integrator, I have read so many. I love everybody's work, and I like to grab that one little nugget that works for me. So I tried to add this incredible drama, and some of them are basically just like watching a soap opera, what I went through. And then the soap opera kind of breaks, and then I'm able to add the nugget of who I was reading or studying at the time and what they did to help me and how they helped me grow. And I have been helped by so many fabulous authors and so many fabulous writers. I just want to be able to kind of bring all those back together. And then if you like whoever's work I brought up, I invite you to go investigate them. So I tried to make it part memoir, part drama, but then part purely educational. Like, you have to know this, or this is what you need to know.
And I believe you've done that. I mean, this lady has got incredible, dynamic energy, and she's so passionate. She really is. You can feel that through and through. It's from her heart. She's passionate. She really loves going out there and truly helping you find how you can do this as well. I want to say thank you so much for being with us tonight and sharing this work. I wish you great, success, blessings as you go through all of your different workshops, because there's so many beautiful people out there that go to the workshops or to the expos and the conferences. And, I can tell that you just love every aspect of everything you do. And so I want to say thank you for doing everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. It just makes my heart sing to come to these things. It just makes my day, makes my week, makes my month. I enjoy it immensely. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been great. And one more time, guys, the website for Dianne is liveyoureverything.com. Her book is called The Real Brass Ring, Live Your Everything Now. And go check it out. It's really, really an amazing book. It's got so much in there that a lot of people will relate to. And we all go through midlife at some point, right? I call that my halfway old point. Yes, I know. It's like, I have all these little acronyms I say, and this helps me remember. And, it's really been a blessing speaking with you and sharing your work with the listeners. For everyone that's been here with us, thank you for listening to the Jenn Royster Show. I'm Dr. Jenn, and it is my blessing to bring this show to you every week. Much love to all of you. Namaste.
You've been listening to The Jenn Royster Show, part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Join us every fourth Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a spiritual journey inward where hope and love bring healing to life's greatest challenges. Learn more about Dr. Jenn and pick up your free meditation gifts at jenroyster.com.